All right. Good morning, good evening, good night. Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Director Deer, and this is DBI, the Deer Bureau of Investigations. And today we're going to cover how celebrities are characters used to program the masses. All right. This is a very riveting topic that I've been doing a lot of research on for the past couple of weeks to bring you all this presentation. So, with that being said, I know this is going to be a lot of information to cover, and therefore I will be splitting this series or this episode up into three parts. It'll be three sections since there are three sections actually in the presentation itself. So each section is going to be a separate video just so that it's easier to digest. And so, because I know people don't have that long of an attention span, I don't want anybody to get distracted on TikTok, Instagram, and X and all that stuff like that. So, lock in with me. And without further ado, let's get into this. Let's do it. All right. So, character creation. When we talk about character creation, first, we need to understand what a character actually is. Okay. Now, according to Webster's dictionary, there are four different meanings for the word character. All right, the first meaning, it could mean the mental and moral qualities distinctive to an individual. It could mean a person in a novel, play, or movie. It could mean a printed or written letter or symbol. And biologically, it could also mean a characteristic, especially one that assists in the identification of a species. Now, the first three of these definitions are really what I want to get at here because from what I have evaluated, when it comes to these characters within the media, all right, their purpose, their function, why they are useful to the media elites is because they are able to tell stories, they are able to evoke emotional responses, they are able to serve as representations or symbols of concepts or ideas that the media elites might want to push, but they are also entertaining to us, okay? And when something is entertaining, humans tend to pay more attention to it, especially if it's bright and flashy, excuse me. All right? So that is the purpose for why these characters are needed to push these agendas, put them in front of us. All right. Now, one thing that I want you to understand about the media elites, entertainment industry, is that they love hidden meanings. Okay. This is one of their favorite things to do is put hidden symbols in front of us. All right. Put symbology and stuff in front of us and push these ideas and concepts on our subconscious mind while we consciously have we have no understanding of it. Okay. Now, symbology specifically is important to those that control the media because symbols have power and meaning. Okay. I'm sure some of you have seen the image of the fist. Okay. You could probably think of a couple different concepts or ideas that are associated with that image, or even the image of the sun. Okay, the moon, anything could be a symbol, and any symbol could have a meaning. A meaning. All right. For example, you have these three images. Right. Top left, that's the eye of Horus. Okay, and it represents wisdom, represents different spiritual topics. But to give you a little bit of information about this, uh, Horus, the god, he's an Egyptian god, and during the battle with his father's brother Seth, who killed his father, he lost his eye. He lost one of his eyes. Seth gouged one of his eyes out. Okay, and it was eventually restored, but this symbol uh, became one of the leading imagery within Egyptian mythology. Okay, now you could clearly see how this eye is rebranded to CBS. So when CBS uses it, Okay, remember I said that Eye of Horus means wisdom and other different spiritual um, meanings. But when you see it on CBS, what does it mean? Well, here it's representing surveillance, it's representing control, it's representing the all seeing eye, which is the bottom picture. Now, the all seeing eye here. All right, this symbol you can find on any and every dollar bill. Okay, I'm sure some of you have already heard about what the all-seeing eye represents, but again, it represents control. It represents knowledge, wisdom, but also surveillance. This is the eye that is always watching, that can always see everything. All right. Now, what does this have to do with representation? Because I believe it coincides with that first definition of a character, which is the mental and moral qualities distinctive to an individual, just so you remember. Now, I view reputation as a sum of your good and bad deeds. Okay? I believe that it is the set of beliefs and behaviors that you have developed into your self-image or your character. All right? So, when people say you are of good moral character, this is what they mean. Your good deeds, okay? You have developed into a good person the way you see yourself. All right, and this is what you call your character. Now, people with a higher number of good deeds have a good character. Okay, people with a higher number of bad deeds have a bad character. You've done a lot of wrong in your life. All right, people can feel this. People can sense this. All right, this is a human quality. When you get in a room and you're around people you probably shouldn't be, you feel it. All right, if you know, you know. Now, you are a representation of all your life choices. The person that you see in the mirror, the person that people see when they look at you, is an amalgamation of all of your life choices. Okay? Now, a character can represent anything. You could create an identity or character with any set of beliefs, behaviors, likes, and dislikes that you want. Think of when you play a video game, all right, and they give you the option, the ability to create your own character within the game. All right, this is probably the best example I could give, but you put yourself into the game, or you put a character into the game. You could give them their own backstory. You could give them their own, like I said, likes and dislikes. For example, they might like pie, but hate cake. All right, it's the possibilities are endless. That's the point. Now, the character that you play, okay, when we think about the stage, all right, you're on stage, you're playing the character. Let's say you're an actor. The character you play can represent entirely different concepts than your true self. Okay, for example, Will Smith is one way outside of the movie, but then he's playing the role of the Gemini Man. You probably remember the movie Gemini Man. Okay, that's him playing the role of a assassin or whatever he was in that movie. Okay, but the point is, in real life, Will Smith is not an assassin. All right, he probably does not know martial arts like that. Okay, so he's playing a character. Now, I relate this to Carl Jung's description of the shadow self, okay, and how I think the character that you play is the shadow self that Carl Jung is talking about, where the aspects of yourself that you suppress to fit into your environment. All right, you're playing a character. So the shadow self is the real you. That's the you that nobody else sees when you're alone. Okay, but the person that we are seeing is your character. That is the mask that you chose to put on your face to show other people, to blend in and fit in. Okay, why is this important? When you talk about celebrities, one word that is commonly used to describe celebrities is the stars. All right, they're stars. What does that even mean? What does that mean when you call a celebrity a star? Okay. First of all, what is a star? Okay. Star can be used to describe multiple concepts. One meaning of a star, it could be the literal meaning, all right, the cosmic phenomena of the nuclear reactions turning into light producing, extreme light producing balls. That's basically what a star is. Okay. Then it could also mean the brightest and most esteemed, or a highly reputable or high status individual. Okay. And obviously they use it to describe celebrities. Now, in the media, stars will typically refer to either celebrities, or they could dually or simultaneously mean the brightest or most esteemed of all of the majority of people. Okay. Now, the controllers of our media, they want us to view these other humans as the brightest of us when we call them the stars. Okay. The most reputable, and they use this to their advantage. Okay. Humans are naturally comrades, and it is in our nature to blend together, to live together, and to share information and ideas back and forth with one another. And if you can control the story, the set, or the scene, all right, you control what people are seeing on the stage, all right, and you have the right characters, okay, you could get people to accept almost any idea. Trust me, it works. For example, Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam is a perfect example, okay? What does Uncle Sam represent? Okay, he plays the role of the proud nationalist American who wants you to do things in the name of your country. Remember, he said, well, that was Nixon or Kennedy, one of the presidents, I forgot. Ask what, ask not what the country could do for you, but what you could do for your country. All right, Uncle Sam wants you. All right, what does he want you to do? He wants you to vote, participate in the political spectrum. He wants you to fight for the country when the country calls you to do it. Pay taxes, etc. All right. Uncle Sam is what could be described as a character. All right, and that character is used to promote political propaganda. That's what Uncle Sam is. So, moral of the point, moral of the story, the media loves to put imagery or symbols in front of us to present ideas and convey concepts to us discreetly. Now, the puppets and the puppeteers, okay? To understand how the media turn people into puppets, again, we need to know the meaning of the words, okay? Words are very important because not only do symbols convey ideas, obviously words do as well. Okay, and it's important to understand the etymology, the roots of the words, and how they change because it allows us to study their meanings. It allows us to see where the words came from, like where they originated, and it allows us to observe, how the meanings change and what effect that has on the human mind. Okay, when we use the words, for example. Now, what does the word puppet mean? Where did this word originate? How did it form? So, a puppet is defined as a small scale figure, as of a person or animal, usually with a cloth body and hollow head that fits over and is moved by the hand. Okay? You've seen a sock puppet or one of those mouth puppets you go like, and it's over your hand. It's a character. Okay? Or the other definition for a puppet is one whose acts are controlled by an outside force or influence. Okay. This is the crux of what I'm trying to explain, is that these celebrities are being controlled by an outside force or influence. Okay. And as I explain how this works, you will begin to see where the outside force shows itself. Okay. Now, according to Webster's dictionary, all of this is according to Webster's dictionary. The word puppet it has a couple origins. All right, because words can have different origins. They could be composites of other similar words in different languages. Okay, so in this case, one origin of the word puppet is from Middle England. Okay, the Middle English word poppet, spelled Popet, which means youth or doll. Another origin is from Middle France, the word poupée, spelled Poupette, okay, which also means doll. It's a diminutive of the root word in France. Poupe, spelled Poupe, which also means doll. And then also from Vulgar Latin, the word puppa or pupa, okay? And they all mean doll. So here you can see three different languages from three different places. Each word all means the same thing. So our English word puppet today is a combination of these three root words. Okay. Now puppets are figures. They often resemble human characters, and they're controlled by an outside force or influence, as we just saw from the Webster's dictionary definition. And they play whatever role is assigned to them. Now, some types of puppets include hand puppets, you got sock puppets, and the image here is of a marionette. These are the puppets that are controlled by the strings attached to the limbs. Okay, these marionettes, I believe they accurately represent the puppets that I'm talking about when it comes to celebrities. Now, marionettes always have strings attached. Okay, I think these celebrities have strings attached to them as well. Now, the marionette's actions are motivated by an external force who uses the strings attached to them to make them perform. Okay. Now, puppets come to life on a stage and they can play any role. Okay, I'm reiterating that. The roles they can play are limited only by the imagination. Now, in media, celebrities become the puppets who perform on stage. All right, and they're playing various roles for the rest of society to watch and internalize. What makes an actor a puppet in this sense? Okay. In my opinion, an actor becomes a puppet when they agree to perform roles that aim to support ideas and agendas that might be detrimental to the best interest of the rest of the community, despite that this person might not actually support or agree the idea in question. Okay, so think of like fake outrage, celebrities getting mad at things that they don't have to deal with themselves, or flip-flopping on certain topics. Okay, they say one thing here and then years later they're saying something totally completely different. It's almost like they never believed it to begin with. Okay, you could probably think of some examples, but I'll give you some as we progress. One good example is Billie Eilish. Okay, and you saw her on the stage during, what was that, the Oscars, I believe it was, where she was saying F ICE, talking about illegal immigration, stuff like that. All right. Now, she's expressing these things only for her to be silent when people actually ask her to prove her commitment, okay, on the border specifically. Okay. Now, Billie Eilish is one example, but also celebrities coming out in lockstep or simultaneously to support a political candidate. All right, when they had no history of politicization before this instance, and they do not continue after. So, for example, do you not find it weird that celebrities have things to say about politics right around when the election is happening? All right, and they usually support one particular type of candidate over another. But then once it's not an election cycle anymore, once it's not an election year anymore, you don't hear nothing about them talking about anything political. It's almost like they never cared. I wonder why. Now, in my personal opinion, the strings that I believe are attached to these puppets is money. Okay, money, influence, power, etc. And it connects the puppet and the puppeteer, puppet master, if you will. Those who run the media have their agendas and they use their wealth to influence the behavior of the stars, celebrities. Okay, they manipulate our tendency to revere or you know, I'm just going to use that word, revere. Okay, that basically means we cherish these people. Okay, they use and manipulate our tendency to revere these high status individuals and listen to what they have to say. All right, so because we hold them to a high standard, we tend to believe what they're saying as fact, because why would they lie? Why would they lie to us, right? Now, the media elites are giving these puppets roles to play that represent the agendas that they want to push. All right, and they influence the public through the celebrities. These celebrities become what you would call sellouts. All right, and a sellout here is someone who abandons or trades their moral principles or compass and authenticity, or their loyalties, their loyalties between friends or family, for money or any other type of material gain. So this is how they get the puppets to trade their souls in. All right, what makes them authentic and human for a piece of change. They're exchanging what makes them a real person. All right, a real unique individual for some money. Now you become homogenized. Now you become a part of the crowd. Okay, you're no longer distinct. You're only distinct in the fact that we have given you money to portray someone who is distinct, so that when we tell you what to say and what to do, you are going to do it because you don't want to lose the stuff that we're giving you. Okay. Now, the people who control the media, they gain the most from this dynamic because they can change the views and behaviors of the public easily, which can be beneficial to them in a number of ways. The puppets only benefit from this exchange, and while they may receive a monetary or other material gain, they lose more than they gain because they have lost their morality. They have lost their soul. What makes them a human? Okay. Now, once you lose your principles, it is that much harder to say no to further moral degradation. So this is what they do. They test you. All right. Why don't you do this? Why don't you play this role? If you accept this one, it's a slippery slope. Okay. For example, the celebrities, the male celebrities who wear dresses. All right. Nothing wrong with anybody doing that. It's the fact that they are pushing an agenda. Okay. The media elites want the rest of society to engage in behaviors like this. Whether or not you believe in them, support or do not support them is not the point. It's the fact that the media is the origin. Okay. They are the origins of this behavior. They are, through celebrities, influencing the general public to behave in these ways. Okay. Now, my bad. I say all that to say that I think they are attacking children through celebrities, specifically female celebrities. Okay. Why do I say this? Because it's harder to influence people who have already set their moral code. Okay, they already stand on their principles. They are rigid in what they believe. Okay, it's very hard to lie to a person like that because, especially if they're of adult age, you have the means to prove whether or not something is true. Okay, you have the means to discern where something is coming from. Not saying everybody is able to, but you are much better equipped at distinguishing between fact and non-fact. However, children do not have these same capabilities. All right. And if you put yourself in the mindset of somebody who would want to influence the public, it will be easier for you to influence more people if you influence the youngest of us. Why? Because they don't have the means nor the mental capacity often to distinguish between fact and non-fact. Okay? Children tend to accept things at face value when people tell them because they don't know any better. All right? So this is why a lot of people have the beliefs they have because they were taught them at a young age. For example, religion. A lot of people, I believe, are religious because their family members are religious. Specifically, your parents are religious. And what do when you're a child? You go and practice the same practices that your parents are teaching you to do. All right? And it gets ingrained and you grow up and you internalize it and it gets solidified in your character. Okay? Now, we want to know what agendas are being pushed. And if we can understand the desires of those who push these agendas, we can see where their money might be going. And we can pick out who is real and who is a puppet. Okay. Now, I'm not going to say what agendas are being pushed because I don't want to be politically incorrect. Okay. I'm a new YouTuber. I don't want to get banned. Okay. Because certain things I have to say, I'll probably get banned for saying them. But a couple movements that I believe people are being used as puppets to promote certain ideas within are racial divide. Okay, they want to divide and conquer us. That is how they influence us. Another way, another strategy is to divide us. Okay, we should not be having issues between one another, especially men and women or black people, white people, different races, different groups of race. All right, they love to divide people because if you're not having a conversation with somebody you disagree with, how can you ever come to a middle ground? It can't happen. All right. These are some of the agendas they push. Division. Okay. That's one good example I could use without getting banned. All right. Now, these are just some. Obviously, there are more as you look in history. But the issue is not the members of the public who are being influenced to support these movements. All right. We are not the issue here. Okay. The issue is the people who are behind the movements themselves. All right. They are trying to divide people because if the 99%, the majority of society, all acted in unison and were able to agree on what was the best for the majority, all right, if we were the ones who were able to say what's good for all of us, the majority of us, it would strip the power from the people who hold it, the people at the top. Okay. Thus, they use issues that evoke strong emotional responses or reactions like abortion, okay, which stems from the feminist movement, all right, to divide groups of people up. This can provide monetary gain, political gain, or other benefits to those who wield this power. Okay. Now, this is a multifaceted attack. So there's levels to this, if you will. Okay, because it requires propaganda and puppetry to influence multiple generations. Now, an example of this is a political campaign making an advertisement bashing their opposition. Okay, now, one group of people, let's say senior citizens, they might see the version of the ad describing how the opposition is ruining Medicare or shrinking retirement accounts. Okay, this is done purposefully. Okay, they do this purposefully to influence how the public sees their opposition. Okay, now they might show that to senior citizens. They might push that version of the ad to senior citizens, but then the youth, the younger people, young parents, for example, they might see the version of the ad that exposes how the opposition makes child rearing or child raising more difficult. Okay. Or further, young children or teens, they might see a version, all right, demonstrating how the opposition is against another one of these movements, all right, that they are supposed to support. The individual watching the ad is supposed to support. Okay. Nonetheless, the people creating this content want to influence viewers to support their idea or movement and use manipulation tactics to accomplish that goal. Okay. The problem with this strategy, so here's a reason why it's hard for them to do this. All right, and this is what I was explaining previously. All right, is that it doesn't last. It does not last long enough. The manipulation. All right, what ideas and concepts that they are trying to push, this tactic does not last very long. Okay, most people who hear a claim, like I was saying, have the means to evaluate the truth of the claim and to understand why it is true or not. If the claim is not fully true, then it could backfire on those who are trying to push it if people realize that they are being dishonest. Okay. Now, once enough people become aware of this dishonesty, the purveyors of the dishonesty, the people who are being dishonest, usually receive some negative consequence. All right, they might lose money, they might lose sponsorships or anything like that. Okay, they're losing something when people find out, hey, you ain't who you said you was. It seems like you're lying. Okay. Now take the case of Jussie Smollett. Okay, he claimed he was attacked by two white men who beat him, screamed racial and homophobic expletives at him, and then tied a noose around his neck. All right, this is what, 2018, I think. You could look it up. All right, it happened. Now, why is that Jussie Smollett situation important? It's because a lot of celebrities came out and used this to attack other groups of people, talking about white supremacy and how, everything is bad. The whole country is racist. Everybody's racist and all this other stuff, right? Yeah. Okay. The news media came out. Multiple celebrities came out simultaneously. It seemed like they all came out all at the same time, okay, to support Jussie. Okay, fair enough. And they called the alleged attack racially motivated. They said that this was a racially motivated attack and that the president was giving these people more leeway to do these types of things. All right. Now, many people took this opportunity to speak out against racism and prominent figures within the black community specifically, okay, because race is a very, very, very strong topic in the black community. Hence why I am referring to this community specifically throughout this conversation that we're having. All right. Many people took this opportunity to speak out against racism. All right. Especially in the black community. And they went on national TV and news networks to call white men racist terrorists and motivate people to make certain political choices to fight against what they were describing as an enemy to the black community. Okay, here's the division. Here's the divide and conquer. White man bad. Black people vote. Black people attack. Okay. Now, all of that was fake. It turns out, not only had Jussie not been attacked by two white men, but he had in fact hired two Nigerian men to beat him up on purpose, okay, to help him stage this attack. And when people found out, all right, Jussie lost multiple career opportunities, and he is now a distant memory within the entertainment industry. You don't hear about Jussie Smollett anymore. He's not in any movies. Nobody's casting him. He's basically blackballed. Why? Because he failed to convince people. Because the whole plan was stupid. Okay? He's on camera. You could clearly see the two gentlemen walking up to him, fakely beating him up. Everybody knew that this was not real, that it was fake. Well, I can't say everybody because it worked on some people. Some people fell for the divide and conquer. Let's put it that way. Now, How then do you get people to believe something wholeheartedly? How do you get people to fully invest into these often fake uh, campaigns, right? The character, these puppets are campaigning. They are campaigning and advocating for these ideologies, concepts, ideas, whatever you want to call them. How do you get somebody to believe this wholeheartedly? You teach it to children, okay? In order to do this, though, you have to convince the mothers of the children first, okay? If the mother believes it, then the mother will teach it to her child. All right, now the child believes it. That child will teach it to their future children, will teach it to their future children, and so on and so forth. Okay, this is how you influence entire generations of people. You teach it to the children first. Okay, don't believe me? Watch the movie Born on the 4th of July with Tom Cruise. Watch that movie. Okay, I'm not gonna say too much more. Just watch it. Now, after all, aren't mothers one of the first people to teach children? Right? You came out of your mother. More than likely, your mom was the first person to ever hold you, kiss you on your forehead, tell you that she loves you. Okay. This strategy is much more effective because it lasts longer. Okay, the idea is able to be recycled for a longer period of time. Okay, and it is reinforced within the mind of the child. Okay, this child will grow into an adult who will be shaped by these teachings, and without any intervention, this idea can be passed down for generations. Okay, so the promotion of drugs, promiscuity, and violence serve as a dual purpose to the heads of media. Okay, they want to make money. All right, they get sales, views, and attention when they get the celebrity to promote these things. And it also allows them to push their ideas through characters that promote these ideas. Now, case in point, when I say that they are attacking children, they want children, especially black children, to be promiscuous. They want us to be violent. They want us to be drugged up. Okay. So they will put rappers, celebrities in front of us that portray these types of characters who do these things. Okay. Could be a rapper who used to be a drug dealer. All right. And now this rapper is globally, they're worldwide. Their music is played globally. Okay. What message are they sending about black people to other people in different countries? All right. For example, how come, what would be the purpose behind Glorilla rapping a children's book? What would be the purpose for that? Let's watch. On gun. On gun. Real 92.3. Yeah. Woo. Glorilla. Let's go. Llama, red pajama, read the story, read mama keeps baby hair, llama, go downstairs, llama, red pajama, feels alone without his mama, baby llama wants a drink, mama's at the kitchen sink. You get the point. You get the gist. Okay. I believe that they do things like this. They have these celebrities go and do things that are palatable to children, that could be accepted by the parents and shown to their children. All right. A parent will show Glorilla reading this book to their kid and be like, "Oh, you like this book? Oh, yeah, you like this?" But then you have to look at Glorilla's actual catalog of music. What is she talking about? Okay. Here's how the cycle of children, acting this way. Okay, this is how it starts. Playing the songs for the children. Now, you hear the song? Why are little kids singing and dancing in this manner to this song? Why are you listening to this? What child needs their hands to be on their knees like this? They're trying to influence the next generations of people. Okay. Now, I believe the people at the top thrive on fear and negativity. All right. So keeping us in as low of an emotional state as possible, drugs, promiscuity, violence, okay, would be the means to do this. So, hence, they employ other people to perform these roles, okay, take on these roles that will keep us in this mental state so that they are removed from all accountability. So, whenever we see kids dancing like this, who do we look at? Drake and Sexy Red, but not who promoted the song, who made this song a globally, a nationally uh, liked song, for like a better terms. Okay, we're not looking at the people who are promoting this music. We're looking at the people who make the music. All right, we should be looking at them both. You're making this music. That's just you. But then you're also making it because your label told you that this is what people want and need to hear. Okay? This creates a never ending cycle of new generations that continue the propaganda and think of Whisper Down the Lane. Okay? Now, this is the end of section 1. If you're moving on to section 2, we'll start that in a couple seconds. But if this is the first section you watch, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Interact with the video. I'm a friendly guy. Don't hate me. All right? Talk to me in the comments, bruh. Let's get a conversation going. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. Okay? Maybe you see examples of what I'm talking about. If you got any good examples, put them in the comments below. Okay? Thank you for watching. See y'all in the next section.